This is a chameleon, and I promise she has nothing to do with today's video. Hey guys, it's Cans, and I totally lied in that intro. This chameleon has everything to do with today's art, and the question that I'm answering being where to find inspiration. So, as you can see, I'm drawing a chameleon, which is great. And I was really enjoying the process of the Fibonacci sequence to create her tail and all sorts of fun things. But there's a few more facets to this drawing and why I drew it and what really pulled me to make this video. So, having been an artist, or at least very interested in art for most of my life, I often have gotten the question of where do I find inspiration? How do I get ideas to draw things? And it's kind of a convoluted answer, but the long and the short of it is that I just see things and I like them, and then I draw them. Yeah, but I'll get a bit further into that, I think. Inspiration is different for a lot of artists depending on what they like, their individual experiences in life, their preferred way to draw, or their preferred kind of art. Um, for me, really, it just starts with when I was younger, I liked cool shapes and pretty colors, and that just made it work for me. When I was younger, it was easy to draw like lots of things and find lots of inspiration because there were so many things I hadn't drawn yet. And I remember asking my mum to sit down with me and give me ideas of, give me something to draw, mum. And every idea that she had would be something that I had never tried to before. So when you're younger or when you're starting out as an artist, it's much easier to find inspiration because you have a whole world of things to explore still. And that's not to say that I don't still have a whole bunch of things in the art world that I haven't done or that I haven't tried or that I haven't even seen yet. But as of where I am right now, I feel like I've had a very wide range of experiences with different subjects and different techniques. So I think for the most part, I've covered quite a big base. The problem is now that it's hard to find inspiration when, like I say, I've drawn a lot of things, and I've had a lot of original ideas that are now completed. So the concept of inspiration becomes a bit more difficult as you age as an artist. I think it was also easier for me when I was in high school and doing art at school because the teachers or the curriculum would give you topics and would give you kind of a guideline of the direction to head in, and you just really got to play with that, or at least the schools that I went to. So when I was in high school, it was a bit easier. I just got told kind of what to draw, and I didn't necessarily like that, but it did mean that I always had a project going. When I left high school, though, I found it much harder to draw and create and do art regularly because I was suddenly at a loss trying to figure out my own kind of ideas. What do I want to work with this month? What do I feel like? Haven't I explored this avenue? It became a serious learning curve. As I said, up until this point, I'd already had kind of a broad, inclusive experience with different art styles, different subject matter, different types of things in the art community. And um, when I found myself at a loss for inspiration, the first thing I did was go back to the things that I've already tried before and remember the ones that I really enjoyed. And then I kind of pushed myself to delve deeper down those alleyways. So I really enjoyed lino cut and printmaking when I was about 13. I tried again to do that and I realized it just wasn't something I was still into. I was into a lot of illustration when I was younger as well, and so I kept jumping back and forth between that and comic art and realism and all of these things. And I just kind of pushed myself further in each and every one of the avenues to see which would stick or what would give me the greatest satisfaction in my own creative process, I suppose. But inspiration itself on what to draw and what to incorporate into my own art is still like an elusive thing. It's not something that's very easy to explain, and for the most part, I think I could sum it down to a few different areas of life where I personally find the most inspiration for subject matter. Firstly, and probably the most obvious and shared source of inspiration among artists that I personally did find to be very effective was simply just observing the natural world around me. And that's easier said than done. It's one thing to look at your surroundings, and it's one thing to look at trees and plants and animals and shapes. It's another thing to think outside the boundaries of them, to look at a leaf and think, what can I do with that? At least in my own experience, I try to think very out of the box, a little bit abstract, and training myself to look at nature around me and actually see possibility and inspiration for further creativity was not easy, but it has become one of my most useful tools in my inspiration arsenal. In fact, nature and my exact surroundings was the number one inspiration that I had for this drawing. Um, Obviously, the week that I'd drawn this picture, we had just adopted a baby chameleon. Her name is Sophie, and she's currently 5 months old. And I was instantly, completely obsessed with this creature. Not just because, she's really sweet and gentle, and chameleons are great, if not complicated to look after. But she was one of the most interesting creatures I'd seen in nature myself. More than snakes or spiders or that sort of thing, I had never laid my eyes on a real chameleon before. And when I was finally able to get up close to her and actually look at everything that composes a chameleon, I was completely amazed just by this creature and all of the weird beauty that is in her. And I was particularly obsessed with that classic curled up chameleon tail. And instantly I knew I had to make some kind of art piece involving this tail and something to do to dedicate a piece of art to this creature that I love. And yeah, when I was setting up her tank, I put big branches of this hibiscus tree in there. And at the time, they were flowering big, beautiful pink hibiscus flowers. And that, with Sophie, just created this image in my mind, and I just went for it. There was little to no extra imagination on my part. There was not much, embellishment. It was just this is what was happening in my life at the time. Sophie the green chameleon with pink hibiscus flowers. And the literal form of observing nature around me, that tip for inspiration is exactly what I've done here. And I think that's why I really wanted to use this video to explain the topic of inspiration. The second most important genre in life that I look at when trying to find inspiration is actually my own emotions. I personally am very emotional. I'm very right-sided. I think that a lot of creatives are, and I think that's what gives us our unique ability to put things down in a creative way, to make art. And emotions are a bit more difficult to capture an image of than actual nature. It's easy to look at a chameleon and try to replicate a chameleon on paper. It's a different thing entirely to capture the feeling that I have for animals or the emotions that I have as a person and portray them accurately in an illustration. With feelings, they're much more nuanced. They're not so black and white. There's always different little areas of them. And sometimes, especially as an artist, it's very hard to be completely honest in your art with your feelings because it can be very revealing. And people obviously see your art. And to draw your own feelings is sometimes a bit too, I want to say, naked. And I've spoken to a lot of my artist friends before, and they say the same thing, that it's hard sometimes to crack through that ceiling you give yourself and be completely vulnerable in art. But I have found that bringing your own emotions into artwork and really trying to actually express your feelings through art has created some of the best works I've personally ever done and seen. I've even heard of people who are too afraid to make this quote-unquote vent art, and have it available to be seen by other people, and they would rather keep a specific sketchbook or a special place where they will make this emotional drawing or this piece based on serious feelings, and they won't show people about it. And I've done it myself too, because it is hard. It's kind of like burying your soul, which is not great. But what I have also figured is that sometimes even just drawing out a feeling that you have could lead to a whole new idea for a piece of artwork that maybe you are much more comfortable showing to the public and creating as a finished piece. This is what this is. So I definitely always recommend tapping into how you actually feel about things or your real life experienced emotions, because that is where you will get probably the most genuine, heartfelt feeling, and you can see it in an artwork. When it comes to inspiration, I also found that sometimes the best way to get the ball rolling on a piece or illustration or even just a little sketch or doodle is to simply just draw what you want to draw. And that makes it sound so simple, and it really is. If you like the look of something, the shape, the color, the lighting, whatever it is that you find appealing about something, and you feel the urge to draw, I think you should draw it. Because not only do you get in that good practice, I mean, everything you draw is practice, it also allows you to venture into the avenues of life that you're interested in. So if you like still lives, or you like photography, or you like colors and abstract painting, indulging the things that you find interesting can help guide you towards a whole genre of art that you can get endless inspiration from. I, for instance, personally love the color combination of pink and green, and whenever I see it, I am always in awe of it. It is always something that I've thought was really beautiful. And so when I was doing this picture, it just so happened that the subject matter was also mainly pinks and greens. And that comes from just me observing what I do like and what I don't like. And because I've experimented with pink and green before, I was able to kind of figure out, okay, what shades of pink work better get together? Like, what kind of green will set this nicely? So indulge those things that you are interested in, that look nice to you, that please you. And it's important to remember that they're probably not going to make everybody else happy. We all have individual tastes. We all have the things that we like. And sometimes they don't line up with each other. But the important thing is that if you are striving to expand your own creative horizons and to experience your own creativity, then there is no right or wrong, as long as you're not doing anything illegal. So just remember that not all inspirational things will be helpful to other people. Sometimes people are different. I've had many good art friends who had completely different styles and opinions about things than I did, but the shared creative process is what makes a friendship between artists, or what keeps artists in the same group. I suppose then, if I look back on these three loosely woven together points of nature and feelings and just what you like, I think that I could sum down inspiration to draw what makes you feel something. And if you build on that, you'll be able to make other people feel something. And I think that that's the important thing. That's what art's supposed to do at the end of the day. Whatever kind of emotion it is, as long as it's compelling an emotion in somebody, it's doing something. And even if that somebody is just you. So thank you for joining me in making this little piece of my Chameleon Sophia. Thank you for indulging me in drawing something that I just really liked, that was natural, that had feeling to it, and that incorporated artistic practices that I just really enjoy. For anybody interested, Sophia is a baby slash juvenile veiled chameleon. And I rescued her from a pet store that will not be named, but she was not happy there. And along with the help of my herpetology enthusiast stepfather, we have given her a really, really, really good home. And as far as I can see, she is extremely happy, or at the very least, much happier than where she was. If you're going to get a chameleon, disclaimer, please understand these are not easy animals to look after, and they require a lot of work and a lot of study and a lot of knowledge. I am definitely sitting here with my work cut out for me. That being said, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and she gave me great inspiration for an illustration that I'm really personally proud of.